I'd like to welcome everyone to our talk today. Juan Arrausi and Eduard Vidiella, am I correct?
Sí.
All right. I'm really bad at names. I apologize up front.
No
they will be speaking from Barcelona today. Are you both in Barcelona? Yes, I thought so.
Yes.
About learning through experimentation and typography as a topic that they themselves teach with their students. At this point, I'm going to let them speak on their talk, and I'm really looking forward to hearing it. And I will take myself off the screen. Thank you very much.
Thanks to you, and thanks to all the organization committee, volunteers, and technicians for overdoing with this situation of going virtual. We know it's a big effort for you all guys, the things that you are to get ready everything for this ATypI 2020 virtual event, and this gives us the opportunity, and many people the opportunity to join live with all the community. So we welcome you all to share your questions and your objectives if you are teachers too, as we are, besides graphic designers and type designers as Edu. My colleague Edu is a teacher. He started teaching this year at the Elisava School of Design and Engineering, and so we had a good time together sharing what we thought it was a good program for our second year students to develop all their learning processes about typography applied to graphic design. So, Edu, would you like to say hello to the audience?
Hello. First of all, thanks to Jana, Karima, Claudia, and all the ATypI team. And thanks to Juan. I feel comfortable with him in the classroom. And that's all.
We can go to prepare to present the video.
Hello, we would like to introduce to you our theme for the speech. It goes in relation with learn typography through experimenting and reflecting. We are located in a design school in Barcelona, Spain. The driving question for our presentation, it goes in relation with how can learn typography our 19 years old students to be graphic designers. The arrival of the European credit transfer system at the university makes students the center of activity inside and outside the classroom. Our approach is focused on the fact that the activity is the result of interaction of three vertices: students, teachers, and content. After many years teaching typography and graphic design, we have realized that do what I do is no longer the recipe. The way in which we approach the teaching and learning processes in the subject of typography is based on two fundamental pillars: an experimental methodology plus a continuous reflecting process. The most important thing for our teaching model are not the exercises that we propose to the students. For the students, it is the first in-depth contact with typography. Students first experiment with activities and reflect in parallel on their learning. It is what we call experiential practice that acquires sense and meaning through reflection. With this model, the student integrates their learning about typography, makes it meaningful, long-lasting, and sustainable. But most importantly, the student learns to learn. The traditional methodology is what we call a model based on the 3M: tell me, show me, let me try. But our methodology is constructivist. It follows a different 12-step model. Our focus is on the development of mental processes, conceptual elaboration capacities, reflective communities, and group and individual practice. First, we start by retrieve previous knowledge, then represents the task, go hands-on work, Fourth, compare with the original and with other peers. Fifth, improve, then analyze, define concepts and meanings, share with peers and teachers, evaluate with jointly agreed criteria. For the 10th, we go correct mistakes, check, anticipate future application and scenarios. In parallel, reflect and write during the 12 steps. The goal is that our students end up loving typography. But how? With the knowledge of the letter forms when applying it, distinguishing its components, defining the characteristics, and finally integrating and applying the different parameters with criteria. During 10 weeks course, we develop 6 activities. The objective was very fundamental, to approach the knowledge of the letter forms in relation with the shape by observing, drawing, touching, cutting and printing, but also to the analysis and discovery of its parts, components, visual effects, optical balance, structure, serifs, and so on. For this activity, we use 2 different materials, foam and a potato. They are very inexpensive, easy to handle, and send the students back to the playful exercise from their childhood. The teachers give students several models of single letter forms to draw on foam and on potato. Later, students make a print and compare with the original models. On the printed piece, they must write down all the details that they have discovered and contrast it with discoveries of their peers. Mental activities are at this point relate, compare, share, analyze, explore, try out, define, evaluate, and refine. In short, make themselves a clear idea about all items inside the letter form. The practices are developed in classroom in groups, while at home they keep working individually. The knowledge of the typography goes from the inter to the intrapersonal. I discovered this activity while I was a student in Switzerland many years ago. There I once met Professor Hans Ludolf Rutz in Lucerne, a super creative teacher, designer, editor who taught his students in a different way. The proposal in this case was to update 2 exercises. This first search for the essential parts of the letter form and then make a free composition with them. We ask the students to search for real graphic design pieces with a similar approach for the knowledge. Teachers give 4 different alphabets to our students. We ask them to understand, define and combine the essential parts of a single letter form. We want them to ask themselves, what makes a letter recognizable, identifiable, memorable, and why? To carry on with the exercises, the type of technique we use are mixed. We harmonize the manual with the digital. We also go for interrelated training. That means that our subject of typography is related to others inside the graphic design specialty, such as calligraphy, motion graphics, photography, and design technology. We incorporate lessons learned from them. This exercise is also rescued from Professor Hans Rudolf Lutz. We want the students to invent the intermediate forms that exist between 2 characters. The ultimate goal for students to manipulate the shape and to observe its multiple possibilities for transformation.
In this activity, the aim was for the student to digitally redraw various typographic characters. The starting point was an old catalog of letter forms, and the students had to choose a typeface. Then they had to decide certain details, as well as identify whether these were intentional or were due to technical limitations of the moment. The students had the opportunity to test a typographic design program for the first time, specifically the Glyphs app, but other students prefer to use a vector drawing program that is familiar for them, such as Illustrator. At the end, the students have to prepare a final leaflet with all the process to be understood by the rest of their classmates. The aim of this activity was for the students to experiment freely with letter forms. We asked students to create a new graphic piece, and they had to keep in mind that their designs must be applied on a 3D project. Specifically in 2 popcorn boxes with 2 different sizes. This activity was related with the design technology subject, and we shared the theme of an historical reviewing around a Stanley Kubrick production. Finally, we can say that this activity helps students to infer, generate, review, adapt, communicate, and transform their concepts into a final graphic piece. This exercise was formulated as a collective proposal, and 20 students worked together in this project. The first step was to prepare the original type draws for laser cut, and then they had to choose the appropriate material, size, the main characters, and other technical specifications to be produced. The next phase was to try out an experiment with different printing techniques, materials, inks, and other sort of manipulations. Finally, they composed and printed a poster, and after that they have to argue on the decision-making, selection criteria, communication levels, and technical requirements of working with wood type.
Before, during, and after each exercise, we propose to our students a series of questions for written reflection. Previously, what do I know and don't know about each typographic concept related to the process, theme, decision-making, mistakes, and results, but also about presentations, test, control of the technique, and choice of materials, without neglecting learning, what I added to previous knowledge, what have I questioned myself, how can I apply what I have learned, and what new questions arise for me. To sum up, the question is not how we teachers can teach better, but rather in what ways our students can learn typography in a deeper, meaningful, and long-lasting way. We would like to thank our students for the great effort dedicated to this subject. And as Adrian Frutiger said, teach. It is the best way to thank for what you have learned. Thank you very much.
At this time, you need to unmute yourself.
Go for that. Yeah.
Okay.
Now, here. Thanks, Karina. All right.
I'm going to step out. I'm assuming you have more to discuss, correct?
Yeah, just a little questions we wanted to emphasize.
Perfect.
Okay. So with this video, we wanted to give a clear idea that for us, it's not a question of how much the teacher can teach about typography, but rather how much each student can learn based on his or her personal experience, interests, and objectives. Our main concern when designing the learning objectives of the subject of typography was not attend to the competencies, or not attending just to competencies, but specifically to the learning results. Each single exercise we proposed was designed taking into consideration another question. What the student will learn when prefigurating and configuring this exercise? We propose a total of 6 exercises along the term, which means 10 weeks' time. Each of the exercises covers a list of cognitive actions that will help students' personal and professional development. The student's mental activity has to be active before, during, and after each exercise. We teachers must provide this activity and teach our students how to regulate it. It is important that our students are aware about his and her learning processes. Otherwise, it won't be significant, deep, and long-lasting. We teachers pay attention to the evolution of the learning process of each single student. We have in total 40 students in the classroom by asking them to make it explicit, their learnings, by writing, sharing with their concerns with the peers and with the teacher, and getting through auto and co-evaluation. We understand evaluation at this point not as a final grading, but specifically as a formative activity. So this is how we approach this concept of learning typography through reflecting and experimenting.
Okay, it should be noted that this was the first time that the students did these exercises. They had never cut fonts on potatoes, they had never digitalized typefaces. So we are very happy with the results, but especially on the process that the students went through. Well, about the structure and approach of the exercises, this was the main process. During the quarter, we did 2 hours a week and a total of 6 exercises, as we say. And in the first week, the project was presented. The next one was used to discuss the process. And finally, in the last one, the students delivered the final result and we commented together. Unfortunately, although this course worked very well for us, we will have to adapt it to the current situation. So it will be a challenge for all of us to do it in the best way we can. And that's all. So now if anyone has any question, we will be happy to answer us. Thanks.
Not many questions on the list.
Okay.
This thing that Eduard said right now, that we are really worried for this COVID situation and how we are going to be able to set or to readapt all those exercises that you have seen into semi-virtual or hybrid model of teaching. We are getting through a tough and difficult moments in order to organize all the materials and things that are shared in live, that you spread all the work, all the students' work through the class. Now it's going to be quite difficult, and to have all this feedback, everybody at the same time working together, then is one of our most important concerns. I don't know how you feel about that, but we are really worried as teachers of how we are going to get through all these things. Is there some questions you would like to ask? Maybe you put some questions on the list. And you put some questions, but I cannot see all of them clearly. Okay.
And the room chat.
So Max, I read through the chat, okay? Thank you. Some exercises treat letters as abstract shapes. That's right. And this would be interesting in teaching scripts that are not the native to the students. Actually, we propose, let's say, a way in which our students, the way in which we would like our students to look closely at the letter forms, and intending to be not just A, B, C, E, or D as prefigurated shapes that they have in their minds, but trying clearly to see how these letter forms are really abstract forms. And so for them it's much more easy to handle and to get rid of the figurated image that they have in their minds about a single letter form. So it's true. And with this exercise that you have seen with the potato, that they had to cut out and everything, they as they had to cut with the cutter vice versa, or upside down the things and later on to be printed on a piece of paper, of course, this takes the idea of a letter form and goes more in the relation of an abstract form, and so they relate the components in a different and more. They realize about the components and the letter form items in a different way, which for them is much more approachable, let's say. And so things like contrast, things like structure, the endings of the letter forms, for them is quite easier to handle. Edu, would you like to say something
yeah,
about
the question of Mariko? No, we will have to adapt it to the current situation. We don't know how, but it will be necessary to adapt it. No, I don't know.
Okay, there is another question from Mariko. Thank you very much. Can you please explain more in depth the idea of remake? This is for Edu. Remake is for Edu. The remake of the letter forms, the ones we made clips. They ask how if you got it, Edu?
Yeah, they need to remake characters and decide if the details they look are expressed or due to limitations of the moment of the printing or I don't know.
Okay, another question is whether we are teaching online right now. Online, are you doing these exercises in your online classes as well? No, not yet. We are supposed to teach this subject from January, February, and March 2021. So it's what we are right now struggling with because we cannot see or foreseen right now how we will approach it. We don't know. We keep having nightmares about it, but if you guys will have some recipe, it's all welcome. It's all welcome. But we, in fact, what we would like to stress is that the activity is in between two fields. Let's say when the students experiment by themselves touching the type, and at the same time while reflecting what they are doing and how they are manipulating type. And so for us, it's quite interesting to have this concept of manual thinking. The manual thinking for us is really, we stress it a lot in our classes because the experience of touching it and cutting it and printing with it is that you get the feeling of it somehow. And so that's why we combine both techniques. We first start by doing handwork, and then we go digital, and so we move from one to the other quite easily, and this is what we would like to our students to face it with in terms of if I need to do it by hand or if I can do it digitally, then I will do it, and if not, then I will find out some other ways to do it. Our concern is clearly this one: how we are going to control the activity in the class when they are not with us physically. That's the point. That's the point, and it's a good challenge at the same time because like this, it may come the time that the next ATypI meeting, we will be teaching for the rest of the world from home and to students all over. Experiential typography taught in virtual openness in virtual scenarios is we guess is a difficult thing to approach, but we will try our best. Edu? All right. So if you would like to say some.
Thank you so much. At this time, I think everyone's out of questions. I had a question for you. Is it possible to do your lecture as a video and almost a hybrid situation where you're able to do your teaching via, a standard video and then do one-on-one instruction or virtually, or is this all hands-on for you?
It's well, we consider this point of view on organizing something, some let's say first approach for everyone, and then kind of tutorizing individually each student. But this give us is far away from the process that we would from our approach way of teaching, which is in a way constructivist and goes from the inter activity to the interactivity. That means first we share in community, and we start by developing exercises in community in the classroom with a bunch of students. And later on, it comes for them this process of interiorizing, if I can say that, interiorizing the knowledge by practicing by themselves on their own. In this way, we can get another objective, another main objective, which is that they learn how to learn, and this is quite important for them. But the first approach to the exercise must be, we consider it must be done in community. Clearly, there are these virtual platforms that can spread all the knowledge about it, but for us, it's not interest in the knowledge, but the student experience, and so we are trying to face up this reto, this challenge. Yeah.
Okay. Is there a way to integrate different medias into your process? For example, film on their end, so they can actually to expand their knowledge base, and you're able to say, why don't you try a different route? I think your process is amazing. And I think the hands-on approach is, I just want it out there. How's that? But that's just where I'm going. But I was just curious, especially in this crazy upside down world we're in right now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see if there's any other questions. If not, I think we're ending early, if that's all right with both of you.
Yeah.
And
no problem.
I'd like to mention to our audience that the Hangouts room is going on right now, as well as there is a second lecture going on track 1, if they're interested in that. And I'd like to thank both of you for participating today, and thank you for supporting ATypI and its programming. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks to you and to all the organization committee.